If you're a coach or practitioner trying to grow an online business, you've probably felt the pressure to show up on Instagram in a way that feels anything but fun. What started out as a platform to connect and share has for many people become a stressful cycle of worrying about the algorithm, obsessing over reach, and polishing content over and over until it doesn't even feel like you anymore. I'll be honest, I've been there too. When I first started my business 12 years ago, Instagram wasn't even part of the equation. But now, over the years, it's become the thing that everyone said you had to master if you wanted to be taken seriously as a coach. And somewhere along the way, the fun got lost. That's why I'm so excited to have Instagram expert Jenna Harding on the Nourish CEO podcast today. Jenna is known for helping service based business owners get more clients from Instagram without turning it into a dreadful full time job. And her big mission is to help us all make Instagram fun again. So, if you've been struggling to enjoy content creation, but you still want Instagram to be a place that can bring you clients, keep listening because this is going to shift everything about how you think about showing up on social media. All right, everyone. I'm so excited to have with us today Jenna Harding. Welcome to the Nurse CEO podcast.
Calling in from way north of you at the moment.
I was going to say you closed your window before we hit record because you said how cold it was. I was like, well, we're not there yet. So we're still in like the wrap up of summer here. So, well, I'm really excited to have you on. And as we were chatting about before we hit record, we're here to talk about making Instagram fun again, or for the first time for some people. And I know for me personally, I've been running my business for 12 years at this point officially, and then had been online a few years before that, kind of building an audience. I think I've been around long enough that Instagram wasn't really a thing to run a business at all when I first started. And then it became more popular. And then now we're in this era of if you're not on Instagram, what are you even doing? And I feel like there's been a lot of pressure on people to approach Instagram in a certain way to make it more profitable. And I think that sucked a lot of the joy and fun out of content creation. So we're going to bring it back. Before we get started on that, I would love for you to share with our audience just a little bit about yourself and how you even became an Instagram expert.
Oh my gosh, how did this happen? How did I get here? I never asked for this. So the real like true story, which is like starts 8 years ago, is that I was a actor, I was a bartender, and I was volunteering at a yoga studio, like working the desk in exchange for free classes. And one day I helped the owner with his phone. And then he got it in his head that I knew how to phone and I knew Instagram and I knew all of the things and how the buttons worked. And I really didn't like any more than any other normal millennial. Like I was the last one of my friends on Instagram. I wasn't involved in marketing or anything at that point. I had a lot of skills that upon reflection, realized were transferable, but whatever. So I did have a knack for it at the start. He begged me to take over the yoga studio's socials. I said no 100 times until he gave me no choice. And then I started and I loved it. And I started like schlepping lighting equipment across the city and doing influencer collabs and taking pictures of yogis in exchange for shout outs and like running a contest at the desk. And like, I loved it. And I'm like making graphics for Facebook and I'm corresponding with all the teachers about promoting their classes. So then I went to the bar that I worked at and I asked if I could run their Instagram and I blew their social media up. And that was a whole thing too, because they had a very specific masculine brand voice and they were very big on Twitter and they often got press. And so I was like managing all of that. Everything just like exploded from there. I got more of an education in it. I like mentored under some people. I worked for like a bazillion different companies because I would do short-term contracts for like films and TV and like events and that sort of thing. So I got to have way more experience than a normal social media manager doing a lot of different types of jobs and eventually quit everything else that I was doing. And this became me and I became the Instagram girl. And I was like, I really don't know how this happens. I have never been perfect. I have never been polished. I rarely have clean hair. Like, I'm not that aesthetic thing that people usually think of when they think of someone who teaches this stuff. I just have
Mhm.
the passion for creating entertaining content and helping service-based business owners get more clients from content that they enjoy making fast.
Well, I think that's why I started following you in the first place, is because I actually really hate the super polished social media stuff. Mostly because I just feel like the production value is so extreme that it's like, I don't have time for that. I especially now that I have 2 kids, I'm like, I'm lucky if, like, right now I have a little makeup on, I'm like, that's about as far as it's gonna go, and so seeing you show up and just being like, I'll see you put a reel out where you're, like, popping out of a lake or something, like, that's so fun that she is just doing this in such a natural, it seems off the cuff. I don't know how much planning goes into some of that stuff, but it seems very off the cuff, and it's like,
Well,
man, that seems so much more enjoyable to me to show up like that than to have this, like, studio lighting and, 3 hours of makeup and hair and all of that stuff to just
yeah.
create content.
It is, and it should be fun, and your audience will respond more when it is fun. Literally, no one goes, "You know what I love about my Instagram? It is so perfect and polished and professional looking." Because even the people who have what we're looking at as perfect and polished and, like, have lighting equipment and all of that, they don't think they're perfect enough, and they're constantly striving to be more perfect. So, no one is perfect, and no one likes that this is, like, a place where they're supposed to be perfect, so let's just stop. Let's just have fun. Let's just show up way more authentically and unfiltered because that's what resonates with your clients anyway. Your audience wants that and they're going to gravitate to you so much more quickly when you are confident enough to just come as you are, put that out there.
Mhm. So we work with a lot of people who err on the perfectionism side,
Yeah.
maybe full deep end of the perfectionism pool. And then people who are also maybe less of a perfectionist, but more just concerned about how people perceive them. So whether they think they're not going to look professional, whether they think people are going to make fun of them, especially being in health spaces, sometimes it's now they're getting judgments about their body or, oh, you look tired. What do you know about nutrition? So there's a lot of, I think, personal pressure to show up a certain way, whether that's how you talk, how you look, any of the all the above. What do you think is driving that for people? And how might that be showing up even in maybe more subtle ways, not quite as obvious as, well, I don't want to do it because I'm afraid, so I'm just not going to do it at all. Like, what do you think that's doing to people who are still showing up, but maybe it's not having the best outcome on their reach or whatever they're trying to accomplish with their content?
Yeah, a lot of the fears are of not looking credible, right? So maybe you worked in a 9 to 5 in like a corporate world, and so your idea of credible is the men walking out of the board office, right? They've got a suit and it's very sterile looking, and those are the head honchos. So then you go to your Instagram and you make your content blue and white and, very formal looking because that will give you credibility. But like or whatever it is that we perceive. The other thing that I was thinking about the other day is like the movies we were raised on. Like, think about the Mighty Ducks and how there's like when you're a kid and you're watching these movies, like the businessmen, it's always men and they look, I'm like, dude, I am a businesswoman who makes more money than them. And I am in a t shirt that says hot girl summer. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, we need to redefine what credibility looks like and consider that maybe you just speaking with conviction clearly and communicating in your own speech style is the thing that will give you credibility, right?
Mhm.
It's not about wearing your brand colors and a blazer and having like only proper photography go online. Like it's about how you speak and being able to break big concepts down into little bites or make people feel seen. Like that's what actually does it.
Yeah, so why do you think so many people struggle with doing that? Because when you say it like that, it seems like, well, you just show up and you talk about what you believe and what you think, and it sounds so straightforward, but we all know that most people struggle to do that. So what do you think is getting in the way? Other than maybe just the perfectionism piece, what else could be coming up for
Well,
people?
it's the way well, I mean, I love the concept of, like, perfectionism is a defense mechanism, right? So, it's just the fear of how we're being perceived, and it could be anybody, like, you had somebody make fun of you once, or someone call your business little, or your uncle at Thanksgiving dinner gave you business advice that was completely irrelevant. Do you know what I mean? So, it's like any and a lot of the times we're taking our personal account and turning it business, or we know that, like, our personal connections are seeing our content. And actually, that's like a huge asset. But meanwhile, we're going, oh, they know the real me. They know that I just invented this business out of nowhere. Well, yeah, we all did. We all just invented these businesses. Unless you bought a franchise, we all invented it. So it's really the fear of what other people are going to say, what other people are going to think, and then that like it's triggering that deep seated thinking that you're not good enough or that you don't have enough experience or know how to be selling the thing that you're selling.
Mhm. What do you think about, because this is what comes up for us a lot, especially because we're aiming to teach our clients how to articulate what they do more clearly, and sometimes that can be out of their comfort zone. They're used to using a lot of jargon. They're used to
Yeah.
talking like 5 steps ahead of their audience, and so we're trying to help pull them back into some more simplicity. And what that can do, and we've noticed that it can kind of backfire where people overthink because they're like, "Well, I don't wanna sound too much like an expert. I don't wanna teach too much." And then they get in their heads about, "Well, now how am I supposed to do it?" So do you have any tips for not swinging in that direction where now it's hard because you're overthinking the simplicity piece that you're trying to accomplish?
Do you mean in content specifically?
Yeah, like if you're gonna show up and talk, because you said a minute ago about breaking things down into little bite-sized pieces.
Mhm.
A lot of my clients actually really struggle with that because they're highly educated. They're health professionals, so a lot of times they don't even realize how advanced their knowledge is compared to the people that they
Mhm.
wanna work with. And so breaking things down into simple, more social media friendly content can actually be really hard for them, and then
Mhm.
they'll start to second guess and then say, "Well,
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm saying it right," and then it kinda spirals from
Oh,
there.
yeah. Okay, so we teach in my program, Magic Marketing Machine, we teach a growth, nurture, sales content strategy. And then you have all your different types of content. Three, you're making each of them every week, and they each have their different ingredients. So teaching something like, say, how to or explaining a principle or something, that would just be like one post a week that would probably tick that box. But I'm also talking, when I talk about breaking things down, I also mean like the fear that your client has that keeps them from buying, the lived experience of them. Like we've said a million sentences already in this call of like, my clients feel X. And any listener who is feeling those things goes, "Oh my gosh, yeah, it's like you're in my head. That's exactly how I feel." So I don't just mean being able to remove jargon or teach something that is like normally what you are selling people in a bite size. I also just mean like succinctly and clearly being able to articulate how your ideal client feels, what they want, validating their concerns, making them feel better. The stuff that your clients are already doing in conversations, they're just not yet transferring that over to Instagram. Like a cue that I give people, I might have lost the thread here off what you actually asked, but like a cue that I often give people is like if their writing does not match their messaging, and that happens a lot with people with a lot of education. Once they go to write, they like stop being a human and can stop being casual. So, and because you've gone through university and you doctorate or whatever, like it's totally understandable. So I'll be like, Laura, clients in front of you. She's like, I can't show up on Instagram. I look so foolish every time I make a post. She's absolutely panicking. What do you say to her right now?
Oh, what do I say? Like, we're on the spot. Okay, what would I
Yeah.
say? I would say, well, first of all, I like to ask questions. So what specifically is feeling like you can't show up right now?
Okay, cool. So she's panicking. We have one approach. Perfect. Put it in the bank. She's panicking, Laura. Like
Yeah.
she's really stressed out. She's starting to pace back and forth around the room. What do you say?
Hmm.
I can't do this. Lord, help me. I'm gonna fail. I should just go get a job.
I would say, oh, this is I see now I'm starting to now I will say I am also recovering from being one of those people that's like overthinking content. I feel like I would just say it's not that serious.
Yes,
It's
Jenna,
like,
Jenna, it's not that serious. Relax. Right? Like if we were actually in that moment together,
mhm,
you'd be like, relax. Okay. This feels like a really big deal to you right now, but it's actually not. Right? Like,
mhm,
can you take a breath with me? Should we go on a walk? You know? Like you'd
yeah.
all of those things. So write that. Like write what you would actually say to the person when they're standing in front of you in that moment of panic or that moment of grief or that moment of confusion or that, you know what I mean? Like whatever is real and in real life, start clocking those moments even. And instead of like over focusing when it comes to write that content and like, "Oh, well, what am I supposed to do?" Just start paying attention to how you're actually talking to people, and that becomes the content.
Mhm. So this is a random question because you said you were doing some acting previously, like that was more of your focus was as an actress?
That's how I grew up, yeah.
Did you ever do improv?
Yeah, I did a shit ton of
I
improv.
was gonna say that's what that reminds me of is somebody who can really on the spot very quickly respond to anything that's thrown in front of them. And I have friends that do improv, and I feel like that's always what they're training to do is being able to just like respond to the situation no matter what, right? Because you're not supposed to ever change what the person's doing. And I do think that that's something that even I, as you just experienced right now, I'm like, my brain immediately goes into this analysis mode of like, okay, what should I say in this
Mhm.
particular situation? And so even though I'm comfortable talking on a mic, the minute something's kind of like a little bit of an improv situation, I'm like, wait, what was like,
Well, that's us, like, working it out right now, like, that skill that I have really helps me when I coach people, like business owners on this every single week, and they're always
mhm,
like, "How did you do that?" Because I can put myself in anybody's shoes really
mhm,
quickly, and that's just a unique skill that I have that serves my teaching. It's not one that you need for the socials, because you can start to just clock your real life behavior,
mhm,
you can just start to, like, have a notepad beside you to write things down when you actually say them to people or watch videos back of yourself coaching or, take notes after every onboarding call or whatever it is to start looking for those real life conversations instead of thinking that when you go to make content, you have to invent everything and make it all up.
mhm,
Just pull it from what's actually already happening. Like the
mhm,
most basic way to say it would be like when your clients ask you a question, you now know where there's a hole in information. Or when your clients say, or a lead say, I don't know if this is for me because hey, write that down, man. Let's make a post about how, like, telling this person why this is for them.
mhm.
No, you don't need the skill. You don't need the improv skill. That's just mine. That's one I.
You're just excellent at it. And I'm sure it's helpful when, especially if you ever do lives or anything where you can get thrown off if a rando comes into the room or
I used
something.
to literally I was in a troupe that toured doing improvised musical with live music.
I mean, that sounds very difficult. I don't think I could handle that.
I was not the best in the group, let me tell you. I was probably the worst in the group, but I loved to be there and I'd try my best. And we'd,
Yeah.
make up choreography and everything and make up like you'd be doing like literally harmonies, made up harmonies in the background of a made up song in front of an audience. My husband would sweat through his shirt when he'd come and watch. Like from the audience, he'd
Just
be,
from watching.
yeah.
Oh, actually, that's another question I would have. So I think one of the things a lot of people worry about or think too much about is that they don't feel like they're an entertaining person.
Mm.
I don't have this entertaining personality. I'm not funny. And they might see someone like you who is really funny and maybe that's a natural personality trait that you just have. I don't know, maybe you trained yourself to have it, but they might see someone like you and say, "Well, of course, like Jenna can just say whatever she wants and she's funny and it's, entertaining and that's why people like her." What is there something that people can do that feel that way that they could either maybe lean into not being funny or is there something about that that they can
Yeah.
actually pull out and not be so hard on themselves?
Like, I actually hate that objection because I get it so much, and all I have figured out right now is just to yell at people and say, like, just because. So now in all my trainings, I'm like, "And just because I'm silly doesn't mean you need to be silly." Like, you don't need like, because now people think that they have to, like when they take my class, they're just, like, learning how to be ridiculous like I am on camera. It's absolutely not a requirement, it's just how I like to live my life. I mean, I do have a lesson in there that's, like, how to make memes if you're not funny. But the root of that is just referential humor. Like people laugh because it's true,
Mhm.
right? So if you can get good at acknowledging exactly what your clients are saying and addressing it, people will naturally start to think that you're like funny and smart. But or if you do anything spontaneous, will make you seem funny and smart. And I think it is a good way to rip the band-aid off. And like you said, not take Instagram so seriously. But
Mhm.
it's not a requirement, like, you can have the most serious business ever. Like, one of the people that I love to follow, is what's her name? Raina, and, oh my god, it's so sad. She, like, helps pets cross over. Rainbow Raina, and she has this, like, rainbow wig on, and she, like, gives messages to families of, like with people who have dogs that have just passed away. Like, sorry to bring down the room, but that is so sad, and she has so many followers, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of followers. So you
Mhm.
definitely don't need to be goofy silly.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of the people I work with, given that they're in the health space, they work with serious conditions. Maybe it's cancer, maybe it's digestive stuff. I mean, I think digestive stuff has a lot of room for humor, but there's different things going on that they might not feel either that they have that type of personality, or maybe they don't feel like it's appropriate for the topic that they're covering. So with Instagram, what what gets attention? And I ask that because I think a lot of times people one of the reasons why a lot of my clients don't enjoy doing Instagram anymore, or maybe they never did, is because they feel like they're doing all this work, they're putting all this stuff out there, they are showing up, they're, getting past their discomfort, and then it's just crickets. And it's like nobody's paying attention. Why am I even doing this? And because I work with lots of the like perfectionist, kind of did well in school type of people, they like to know that the work that they're doing is creating a result. So if they keep doing work over and over and there's no result, it can be extremely off putting to them.
Mhm.
So we know that there are things that create results on Instagram. Are there some things you would recommend for somebody in that situation where they are showing up, they are trying, and it's just like hitting a brick wall with any sort
Yeah.
of engagement or reach?
So in that growth, nurture, sales strategy, your people are really good at nurture just naturally. So that's longer form content, talking about something, so maybe a bit of a slower pace. Maybe it's more in detail teaching, going deeper into a topic, longer maybe carousels, big long caption explaining like a story, how someone got a result, like stuff like that. They're really good at nurture. And nurture is imperative because it makes people feel safe working with you and trust you and really build that connection. But it's not going to get as many clickety clacks and views as growth content, which is bite size, shorter, leaves a lot of unopened threads, right? You can't teach somebody the entire process in a growth reel. You have to just say one recognizable thing, like one thing that makes people feel seen and highly optimize a 10-second post. And that's what's going to get you in front of more people, but nobody's going to buy off of the growth. And then sales is going to get the fewest clickety clacks out of anything. But that doesn't mean we don't post it. We need to post all three. So
Hmm.
nurture people will find you're posting your nurture. When you sell, you occasionally do make some sales on there when you have the bravery to sell, but eventually the pool dries up, the views get low because you're missing that piece of growth content, whatever that looks like to you. Usually it's short, usually it's fast, usually it makes people feel really seen right away or gives them something that they can use and apply right away really quickly. But we can't talk and talk and talk and overcomplicate it because your viewers are like, you know, they're on the bus, they're on the toilet, they're in the school pickup line. They don't have time to read every single big long nurture post that you create.
Hmm. So I love that you have a framework. I'm like a big frameworks fan in general. So you have the three different types of posts that need to be going out. You said every week is what you typically teach.
I would say, yeah, every week. And then you would do a sales push like occasionally with some sort of urgency, like
Hmm.
times a year or whatever. It's different for everybody.
Yeah. If you were going to just estimate percentages, is it like 33% across the board? Is it like mostly growth, a little bit of sales, and maybe like 20% nurture? Like where do you end up falling on that spectrum of
You know what? I don't think that a percentage would be like the most helpful way to look at it because then somebody starts trying to just hit that benchmark instead of like reading the room, you know?
Mhm.
But every week you want to be attracting new people, warming up the people you attracted last week and selling, at least getting people onto an email list or reminding people that you have an offer that they can buy. And
Mhm.
you wanted to know what I could tell you is how often to post per week, which I would say right now, 5 posts a week is gonna be your minimum.
Mhm. Okay. And at least one of each for that 5 and then kind
I
of figure out.
refuse to give you a percentage. I will not do it.
Noted. And the reason I ask is because I do feel like, as you said, certain categories get more comfortable for people. I don't know if I've ever met anyone who was really comfortable with the sales content and that was all they were putting out. Although who knows? Like I'm sure I would meet somebody who all they're putting out is buy this, buy this, buy this. But I find that people usually either split really heavily into the growth stuff where it's like you're growing followers, but nobody's buying anything from you, or
Mhm.
you're like you said, the nurture where they're putting out really high quality stuff, but it's getting like 50 views on it or something.
Where the sales like, it's like a the people okay, listen up because this might be you, and if it is, you don't know it. No, not you, Laura, but, like, the
It
listener.
could be me. I'm listening.
So, what people do for sales is it's not that their every post is, like, a promo. Some people it is. Usually, that's people that, like, only post once a quarter, and it's always an ad. But what happens is they're trying to circle every post back to buying something. So instead of making a genuine nurture post that just gives something away, it's always hidden because they're afraid to give too much away. And then
Mhm.
it's just like, come work with me. And then they have a really hard time making growth because it's like always coming back to a work with me because they're like, I'm spending this time on Instagram. I'm only posting twice a week and I'm supposed to be here to get clients, so I better make a pitch in this. And that's usually what we see happening. It's
Mhm.
not excellent sales content only going out. It's like sneaky sales content that then doesn't move the needle in any direction.
Mhm. Tell me more about that, what you would consider sneaky sales content, because I'm imagining someone saying, "If you wanna work with me, like, send me a DM and, like, I'll show you how we can blah, blah, blah," versus saying something like, "If you want my free resource on this to go deeper,
Yeah.
comment this."
Okay, let me give you an example. So, how about we take a okay, so say you're a PT and you have like a shoulder recovery program. I'll just invent this. And actually, I could use that. I broke my shoulder.
Sounds
So
great.
that's why.
So, like, somebody can, go make that business right now, and Jenna will buy your offer.
For sure. So then they have like a three-piece, they have like 3 steps that you need to take. So it's like, look at this post. This I don't know if this is gonna be this example, but they're like, here are the 3 things you need to do if you want to recover your shoulder. Okay, great. Sounds like a nurture post. We're gonna teach people a little bit, and maybe at the end we tell them a next step. But instead they go, first, you need to work with a PT because that's the best way to do it. And second, you need to get these stretchy bands that I sell, and that will be the second thing you do. And then the third thing will be you should probably get a one-on-one consultation. So it's like, dude, you opened this pretending you were going to give us value, but then you actually just sold us all the way along. And if that works for you as sales, cool. But if you thought that you were making an interesting social media post that people would want to interact with and might grow your account and make people fall in love with you, you didn't.
Gotcha. So then let's say for argument's sake, somebody has the shoulder program and they're saying there's 3 things you need to do to fix your shoulder. Number 1 is find the I don't know anything about shoulders, but find the root muscle trigger that's causing the muscle pain. And then next step is and then it's like, but they still would need help doing that. They're not going to know how to find the root muscle in their shoulder that's creating the pain. Do you feel like that's still on the sales side, or does that start to move more into nurture, for example?
So if every step they couldn't do themselves, they could do if they worked with you, then your
Mhm,
ultimate goal by making the post was to sell to them. So
mhm.
sales,
Okay.
right? But if you wanted to warm somebody up, you might tell them about the time that you learned about this creepy little muscle in here that nobody else really talks about that is the root cause. So you might tell them that story or
Mhm,
might show them a diagram and a stretch to help them identify on their own where the injury is occurring or give them 3 stretches to do right now and say
mhm,
like, listen, I know this isn't going to solve your issue. You should probably come to me to solve it, but this will get you partly along the way. Like actually be generous in what you're giving.
mhm,
And then
mhm.
you could format those as growth posts too if you were able to say them quickly. Like one stretch, do this right now if you feel a pain in your left shoulder. Here's the
Mhm.
one stretch. It's 10 seconds. Perfect. We're not going
Yeah.
to change their entire lives from that, but that might show up in the right person's feed and then they come and follow you and then see you being generous and then see you selling.
Mhm. I ask this because I follow a lot of I probably shouldn't, but I follow a lot of business coaches. I've kind of culled recently But I've noticed this trend in that space where it's this like tell them but don't really tell them kind of content.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I, having been blogging and podcasting and stuff since 2011, was always kind of in the like actually teach and actually share
Mhm.
information. Don't just like hint at it and then say, now you have to go do this. So, and I know that stuff can work. And I'm not saying to never tease a little bit, but to me, sometimes it seems like some of these accounts, all they do is like
Mhm.
talk about it without really talking about it. What's
Yeah,
your
yeah.
what's
I
your
mean, that
opinion about that?
that works. I call that, like, what, not how.
Mhm.
Right? So you tell them what, you tell them the mistakes that they're all of this works. To me, that's not an integrity because most of the people I work with are helpers and healers or teachers and mentors, coaches. And so if you made them do that, they just wouldn't anyway. Like they want to give, right? They want to help.
Mhm.
So those strategies I think work for people, especially people probably that are doing more paid ads. Um,
Mhm.
like, because how long are you really going to follow someone that never actually gives anything away? Like, eventually,
Right.
you're like, this isn't fun anymore.
Mhm.
Back in 2011, how to content was the thing.
Yeah.
Like, back then, we were doing how to, everything was how to. But now you can give stuff away that doesn't just give them the what, not how, but isn't just cannibalizing your offer, like
Mhm.
by talking about the mistakes someone's currently making. You don't need to spell out A through Z what to do instead. You just identify the mistake, right?
Mhm.
And then people naturally ask the question, oh, okay, what should I do instead? But sometimes you need to remember that, like, that person who didn't know they were making that mistake, that is a big revelation on that post. They are getting value out of it, even without you telling them the next thing to do.
Mhm.
And then you get one comment that's like, "Well, what do you do instead?" And then you go, "Oh, I should never post about a mistake again." That's don't do that. Or mindset shifts, right? What mindset shift does your lead need to have today in order to 2 months from now be ready to work with you? Start posting that. Start giving them that, right?
Mhm.
Like for me, my people need to believe that this can be fun and easy. So they follow my silly stuff and then they start to go, "Hey, I think this might actually be fun and easy." And then only then are they ready to come and work with me, right? Like
Mhm.
people don't come to me because they think this is going to suck. So like you can journal on that right now, listener. Like, what do people need to believe to be ready to work with you a month from now? And then that kind of content gives value in its own way,
Mhm.
storytelling content. And then also, you don't need to teach the advanced stuff. You just need to teach the ABCs of your offer. You might even have one thing that people love learning from you that's very beginner, but gets people closer to like whatever your offer is. And you teach that 5 different ways all the time. And your main thing is just like teaching that over and over again.
Mhm. I do feel like a lot of people underestimate how little most people are paying attention because they are so afraid to say the same thing over and over. "Oh, I've already talked about that." It's like, "And say it again. Say it like every week if people like it." So, with the growth content, another thing that a lot of my clients run into is, and I don't know if maybe this is their own imagination, they feel like it's an integrity thing where they'll say, "Well, I can't just say do this one stretch because it's not gonna fix the problem. It's not gonna be the only thing they need." And, they'll kinda get in their own heads about how it's not really, you know, kind or fair, ethical to just act like there's one stretch that's gonna
Yeah.
fix.
So they would rather reach no one and help no one than give someone one step in a 10-step journey.
Mhm. Do you have any period. Do you have any thoughts for somebody who maybe needs a little bit of warming to that strategy? Do you have any thoughts about how they can present the one thing, the one tip, the one little micro solution in a way that doesn't feel like they're misleading people?
Yeah, I mean, if you wanted to get a little bit like without giving just like a tactic, like post this instead or say this in your caption, like because we do have those. But I would say think about the leads that you're trying to reach and think about the growth content going out to top of funnel people and think about how problem aware they are and how solution aware they are as your ideal client. All right. So I said a lot, but let's take solution aware. Okay. So maybe there are people out there who have a sore shoulder and they're just living with it. They're very problem aware because it hurts, but they're not solution aware yet in that they don't know that acupuncture is an option for them. So you giving away like one little tip or one little video about how acupuncture works or 5 ways you can use acupuncture, one of them is a sore shoulder. You're not giving away the farm. You're not giving away what you people would normally pay you for, but you might get in front of that one person that then discovers you as a potential solution. And that's a gift, right? Like that's amazing that that person would now discover that you exist. So
Mhm.
like thinking about the journey of people and where they're at. Also, people need to hear things like 100,000 times and to like understand them and believe them. So you could explain the same principle about why something works without giving away how to do it, but just the why it works a million times before someone actually understands and believes you. And then they're going to be a better client once they work with you because they believe it's going to work and they're not coming in skeptical.
Mhm. I feel like this is so important for the people that I work with who don't realize how solution unaware their ideal client is, because they'll talk about things like, and I'm just going to throw out some things that I don't know if you've heard of or not, but things like a hair tissue mineral analysis test, an HTMA. And they'll just talk about HTMA tests, minerals, and people don't even realize that they should care. Like,
Hmm.
why should I care about minerals? But then if they start saying, hey, if you are struggling to lose weight and you've tried all the diets and every time, you try to cut your calories, nothing happens, that could be a mineral issue. And here's how you fix a mineral issues with an HMA test.
Hmm.
I feel like that kind of content is the stuff that actually moves the person into more interest in working with them because
Hmm.
now they are becoming solution aware versus the people that I work with a lot of times because they're so educated, they just assume people understand that what they're selling is valuable.
Yeah. Just go try and explain something to like your elderly neighbor and like see if they get it. And with HTMA particular, I know you're using it as an example, but I actually have a client who sells this, and it's really interesting because she was actually selling something else. We'll say like nutritional consulting or something. I don't know. And then everybody came to her just for HTMA, so she was like, "Okay, I need to double down on this because that's all anybody wants." So like I asked her, and she said they know what it is and they're coming to me for it and they're looking for someone to facilitate it. So
Mhm,
that's an example of someone who, unlike your example person, like this person is selling it to people who are looking for it. I think she lives in
mhm,
a small town or something, right? So like she's probably the only person that sells it. So she
mhm,
has a solution aware audience and now she needs to tailor her marketing to a solution aware audience versus someone who needs to think about the problem that their idle clients are facing and the result that they want. And HTMA is the how and is the bridge. And they're going to need to create a lot of content that is educating on what it is if you want to sell it to people that have never heard of it. And they're
mhm,
going to be only interested in paying for the result, the outcome. And then when you're talking about integrity, then your clients are like, well, I can't promise them the outcome. No, I know. I know. And it's not just you in wellness. None of us can promise any outcome. It still needs to be a key tenet of your selling. Listen, we were supposed to talk about Instagram being fun, and I'm making it so sound so hard right
no, this is my fault. Because I am the person who I love strategy. I love like tell me how to do it so I can do it kind of thing. So let's right the ship.
just put on a pretty outfit and jump around in front of the camera for 30 seconds, then trim it down to 10 seconds and then write text on the screen. Okay. That's all you need to do.
So fun. Okay, so I'm gonna just give you a real open-ended question, and I'm not gonna try to like steer it because that is honestly that is how my brain works. It's like I want to know the strategy, and then I can learn the strategy, and then make the strategy kind of just like natural.
Hmm.
So, how can we make Instagram just fun with no strategic? Let's like find like the framework to pull out of this. How do we just make it fun?
Yeah. Okay, cool. So you need to care less, like you said, we already covered that one. A couple of things. No one is judging you as much as you think they are. And if they are, that's a them problem. So that's like weird, actually, you know? So for instance, we make a post and it doesn't get a lot of views. And then we think people are coming to the page, seeing it didn't get views and judging us. And most people don't even know how to see your views. like
Well,
noon.
and if they were seeing it, your views would be higher, right? Like,
Yeah, true,
those
right?
would count as views even if they didn't like it.
Yeah. So, like, we already know we're desensitized to big numbers, but like, if 100 people see that, like, that was your biggest fans, that's still worth something. Sales content's always going to get the lowest amount of views 9 times out of 10. So, that's fine. We're going to not stress about that anymore. If anyone sees it, that's good. Okay. People aren't judging us, people are supporting us. It's okay if your colleagues are following your account. It's okay if your mom is following your account. Like, that's all good. They're here to support you. The thing that makes people like really attractive is sharing bits of themselves. So share an analogy using a sport that you're into. Have your nerdy thing on the wall behind you. Like wear that shirt that says something funny on it. Like bring those bits of personality into whatever you're comfortable talking about at the moment on camera, and you'll start to notice people like comment on it. Like, "Oh, I also love Back to the Future too." Know what I mean? Whatever it is, like I'll sometimes drop really niche musical theater references into my captions. The type of thing that a normal person would fly by, but weird musical theater people are like, "I see what you did there."
Yeah.
And they immediately think you're so funny and so charming and human, and then feel safer working with you, right? So start like peppering in your little Easter eggs. It's another way to make it fun. And then just from like some super tactical like things is when you record, look at the camera, right? And not your own reflection because you're going to be mean to her. I know you are. And you can also put like a sticky note right on the phone so that you can't see it and just look at the camera. And from there, like think about talking to your best friend. Like don't think about how you're addressing possibly 100 people. Just think about your best friend or a client and what you would say just to them. Making it about the viewer is honestly the best hack when you get good at it. Like this isn't about me. This isn't about what people think about me. This isn't about me selling. This is just about giving something to the viewer right now and telling them what they need to hear today.
Mhm. Which theoretically, that's what our helper and healer type clients are really good at is helping people and making it about them. So it should be a lot easier to do it that way. Last question. And again, I have a feeling I know what you're going to say, but I have to ask it. Do you have any thoughts about batching versus spontaneous content creation
Yeah.
when it comes to making things more enjoyable?
Yeah. Okay. So I teach batching, and a lot of people fear it because what they're doing is creating one post at a time and then scheduling it, which isn't batching, right? It's not the way that we teach it. So, like, you make a post, you caption it, you schedule it. You film a post, you edit it, you caption it, you schedule it. Like, that's not batching. That's making one post at a time and scheduling it. You know what I mean? So, firstly, we want to just like get rid of that. Like, the way that we batch is we batch in steps. So, we avoid task switching and we like lean into repeating yourself again and again and scheduling it over time so nobody notices. So there's like lots of little tricks like that to make it easier. So, firstly, if you hated batching, there's a better way to do it. And I really like a hybrid approach. So you batch as much as you can. Maybe it's 3 posts a week for the next month, and you do that in an afternoon. And then if an idea comes to you spontaneously in the moment and you have time, you can still like add that on top of it.
Mhm.
That's how I like to do it because then you still have energy. And if when you batch, you get a little serious, which a lot of people do when they're learning because they're writing and they're getting serious, then you have like fun stuff interspersed or in the moment stuff interspersed. But if you get sick or your kids get sick or you get busy, you don't go without marketing that week.
Mhm. Yeah, I'd say I take a similar approach where we have kind of our routine. This is what goes out every week. And then other times I'm just like, I feel like saying this. I'm just gonna put
Yeah.
it up. And I like doing it that way because usually the stuff that's spontaneous does get the best engagement, views, whatever you want to call it. But like you said, life can get really crazy and I don't want to feel like if I don't show up on a single day that now I'm just disappearing into, oblivion. So I like having stuff that's planned as well.
Mhm. Every day feels like it takes less time because someone sat down to batch and it was like overwhelming and it felt like heavy. So then they go back to every day, but every day is a recipe for burnout. Like every day is harder. So it's
Mhm.
worth getting good at batching. Like I have clients now that will tell me I had 8 minutes before a meeting and I filmed 3 reels, or like I think it's actually more than that in that one testimonial that I have. But like people they get so freaking fast at it.
Mhm.
You just need that like upfront commitment to learning a new skill, which is then most people fall into the valley of despair and Dunning-Kruger syndrome, like they're learning a new skill, they hate it, it's more work. It's like hiring your first VA. It's more work at the beginning.
Mhm.
But yeah, if it interests you and it's something you want, then we can definitely speed up all of your posting processes. My whole thing was like, I know we're finishing now, but like when I was a solo social media manager for like a bazillion clients, if one post took away, or if one post took 45 minutes to make, that no, sorry, wait, I said it wrong. If one post took an hour to make, that was 45 minutes too long. So I physically couldn't spend hours on every client's content every day because I had too many. So I just
Mhm.
developed all these systems to go way faster, and that also helps rip the Band-Aid off and not care as much because you're like just creating, and there's not as much pressure because if you only post twice a week, you're putting so much pressure on that one post and then you're
Mhm.
stressed.
Yeah, totally. Well, Jenna, thank you for bringing it back to the fun. Like I said, I think I have a tendency to be like, let's learn the strategy. So I find strategy fun, but I think I'm a weirdo. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing your expertise and just being generous with your knowledge and giving actual value and not just saying, well, if you want all my actual value, come pay me. But I would love for people to pay you. So, how can people work with you? How can they get more from you if they want to make Instagram more fun and more effective at the same time?
Yeah, yeah. So if you want to get clients from Instagram and manage your account in 15 minutes a day, there's a training that will tell you the strategies my clients use and give you an invitation to work with me in Magic Marketing Machine. I've had over 1,000 members now from all over the world. Services, helpers, healers, teachers, the type of people that we were talking to today. So we'll link you to a free training, how to get clients from Instagram without wasting hours glued to your phone.
Amazing. I love it. We will put that link in the show notes. You guys can go check it out and learn all the strategies because now I feel like I need a strategy for doing it in 15 minutes myself. So thank you, Jenna, so much for your expertise. It was really fun to meet you and to have you on the show today.
Thanks for having me, Laura.
Bye, y'all. Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of the Nourished CEO podcast. If you enjoyed this conversation and it brought you value, I would be so grateful if you would take a minute to leave a review over on iTunes. Your feedback not only helps more amazing coaches and practitioners like you find the show, it also helps me keep creating the kind of content that you want more of. Just head over to Apple Podcasts, search for the Nourished CEO podcast, scroll down and tap that write a review button. It only takes a minute and it means the world to me. Thanks again for being here, and I'll catch you on the next episode.